Welcome to another Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here today because we're looking at something incredibly profound. Today, we're unpacking the hidden, everyday things that truly shape a child's future. We all want the absolute best for the kids in our lives. But psychologists have actually discovered there are these silent saboteurs, subtle, seemingly harmless behaviors that can quietly dictate a child's confidence, their relationships, and honestly, their ultimate success in life. And the most heartbreaking part of all this, most parents don't even notice the invisible damage until it's already done. So if you care about the next generation, stick with me because we're going to illuminate exactly what these saboteurs are.
Okay, let's dive right into this. When we think about threats to our kids today, our minds usually jump straight to the external world, right? We worry about the perils of social media, the influence of a bad group of friends, or, the terrifying thought of strangers. But what if I told you the biggest danger isn't actually out there in the world? What if the absolute most significant threat to a child's emotional well-being isn't something they encounter on a screen or out on the street? What if it's happening inside your own home every single day without anyone even realizing it? Now, please, take a deep breath here. If you're a parent, do not panic. The habits we're going to look at today, they are incredibly normal. In fact, millions of loving, dedicated parents repeat them every single day. They're usually just done out of love, stress, or just pure exhaustion. But as we'll see, these invisible habits leave a really lasting mark.
So let's start with the first silent saboteur. Habit number 1, constant criticism.
Think about a child learning to ride a bike. They fall, but they're really trying their best, right? Almost every parent has been in a moment like this where instead of encouragement, a frustrated sigh slips out, and we say something like, "You're so clumsy," or "You never do this right." Now, what's profound here is the emotional reality of the child. Kids simply don't have the cognitive development yet to separate criticism of their actions from criticism of who they are as a person. So when a parent constantly points out mistakes but rarely celebrates the effort, the child doesn't think, "Oh, I made a mistake." No, they slowly begin to believe, "Maybe I really am not good enough." And over time, hearing those words week after week, year after year, it leads directly to crippling anxiety, toxic perfectionism, a paralyzing fear of failure, and ultimately they just give up before they even try.
And this brilliantly illustrates the vital difference we really need to understand. Look, this doesn't mean parents should never correct their kids. Children absolutely need guidance, they need boundaries. But the distinction is crucial. Correction teaches, humiliation destroys. The line between helping a child grow and tearing down their self-esteem is razor thin, but it literally makes all the difference in the world. So, a highly practical alternative from our source is just changing how we phrase our guidance. Instead of attacking the child by saying, "You're lazy," which remember, attacks their identity, we need to shift our language. Try saying, "This choice wasn't responsible. Let's figure out how to do better." We absolutely must correct the behavior, for sure, but we have to protect the child's identity at all costs.
All right, that brings us to habit number 2, comparing your child to others.
Parents do this all the time. They'll point to a sister, a cousin, or maybe a neighbor with the absolute best of intentions, saying things like, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" Or "Look at your cousin, he always gets perfect grades." They think it's going to create this spark of motivation. But here is the tragic disconnect. The parent's intent is motivation, but the child's reality, it's pure shame. For a kid, comparison does not inspire them to work harder. Instead, they just feel replaced. They start to internalize this devastating belief that love has to be earned, and they're only valuable if they morph into someone else.
Take a second and really let this thought sink in. The flower that opens last is still beautiful. Every single child grows at a completely different pace. Some bloom early, others bloom a bit later. As our source material reminds us, we have to celebrate progress, not comparison. When we celebrate a child for exactly who they are, right where they are, we're giving them the water and sunlight they actually need to grow.
Moving on to habit number 3, never letting your child fail.
Look, every parent has this natural, deeply ingrained instinct to just protect their child from pain. We all get that. But welcome to the protection trap. We see this when well-meaning parents step in to solve every single problem. Finishing the difficult homework assignment for them, fighting every battle at school, removing literally every obstacle from the child's path like a snowplow. But here's the hard truth. Failure is painful, yes, but it's also one of life's greatest teachers. A child who is constantly shielded from all pain, a child who never falls down, well, they never learn how to stand back up. They never develop resilience.
The goal isn't to remove every challenge from your child's life. The goal is to stand beside them and use this incredibly empowering phrase, "I believe you can handle this." Because true, lasting confidence, it doesn't grow when a child avoids difficulties. It grows when they face them, when they struggle through them, and when they eventually overcome them.
Now we arrive at habit number 4, being emotionally unavailable. So many parents are just incredible providers, working tirelessly to offer food, nice clothes, a great education, all the physical things a kid could ever need. Yet, a child feeling completely alone emotionally is a very real thing. They don't always remember the expensive gifts. What they really want, what they desperately crave, are the simple things. Just 5 minutes of genuine eye contact, a conversation where a parent isn't staring at their phone, a warm hug after a really difficult day at school. Children who are emotionally ignored don't just keep quiet. They actually stop sharing their feelings entirely. Not because they don't have emotions, but because they start to believe that nobody actually wants to hear them.
But the wonderful news here? This is so easily fixed. One meaningful conversation today can prevent years of emotional distance tomorrow. It just takes a small amount of focused, undivided attention to completely change the trajectory of your relationship. Seriously, just put the phone down, look them in the eyes, and listen.
And finally, we reach habit number 5, which our source identifies as perhaps the most dangerous habit of all: showing love only when they succeed. Imagine growing up believing that affection, the smiles, the praise, the hugs, are tied exclusively to winning the game or getting perfect grades. The psychological toll of this conditional love is just massive. When affection is treated like a reward for performance, success quickly stops feeling exciting. It just feels like a baseline requirement to be loved. And worse, failure becomes absolutely terrifying. Kids in this environment grow up constantly exhausted, spending their entire lives on a treadmill trying to prove their worth, rather than just feeling secure in who they are. Kids desperately need to hear this profound truth. I love you because you're my child, not because you're perfect. Unconditional love is what creates that bedrock foundation of emotional security. It tells a child that no matter what happens out there in the real world, no matter how badly they fail a test or mess up a big game, they always have a safe place to come home to.
All right, so let's shift gears now to building a healthier future. We've covered some pretty heavy habits today, but I want to be incredibly clear here, and so do the experts we sourced this from. No parent is perfect. Every single parent makes mistakes. It is completely normal. If you recognized yourself in any of these previous habits, please give yourself some grace. The mere fact that you're watching this explainer shows just how much you care.
Because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. One small change today, choosing to encourage instead of criticize, choosing to listen without looking at your screen, choosing to love without conditions, that can completely change your child's tomorrow. Years from now, your child probably won't remember every single lesson you tried to teach them, but they will absolutely always remember how you made them feel. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to ask yourself today. Just let this question sit with you for a moment in silence. If this explainer helped you see your interactions with the kids in your life in a new light, please share it with another parent, a teacher, or a friend, because sometimes just one conversation can change an entire generation. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you next time.